Cartoon Network's Cartoon Theater presents Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island next Sunday at 10, only on Cartoon Network.
Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Griff, or just Gribbs, whatever preference we have, and welcome to the channel. Today, I want to discuss one of my favorite movies of all time. Correction, one of my favorite animated movies of all time. It's up there with Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, which I have to say is peak Batman animation and peak Batman movie. That's another video for another day, and not today. What I'm here to talk about is Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. So what was your first experience with horror before you knew about horror? I'm not talking about accidentally watching a horror movie on TV while you were young, or having your dad leave the TV on and you watching Friday the 13th or Jaws or Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm talking about child-friendly horror media like Gremlins, Beetlejuice, Hocus Pocus, and my all-time favorite, Monster House. These movies have horror elements, but are safe for kids, depending on which one you watch, really, because goddamn, Gremlins blowing up, and that one scene with the granny and the stair lifter. Damn, that's wild. Same with the second movie. It's even wilder than the first one. It's somewhat safe for kids. For older parents who grew up in the 60s, their introduction to horror would be Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, which first aired on September 13th, 1969 on CBS, then later on ABC, and my damn childhood, Boomerang. I used to rewatch the series on Boomerang before going to bed on weekdays during summers when I was a little kid, and I love Scooby-Doo.
You're watching Boomerang from Cartoon Network.
I really enjoyed the TV movie specials that they would air on Cartoon Network, like the one where they turn Shaggy into a werewolf, the one where they go to ghoul school, the one with the Boo Brothers, and yes, even the cheesy Scooby-Doo movies where they made different celebrities each week. Let's talk about the 90s. 1991 exactly. I wasn't born yet. That was a few years later. Warner Brothers opened their first store, which was filled with merchandise from all over their properties, including DC, Looney Tunes, and Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Hence, we have the Warner Brothers store outside of the Warner Brothers studio in Burbank, California. I really miss those stores, but sadly, the last one closed its doors forever in 2001. There was almost every state had a Warner Brothers store, or at least someone in a mall. There was one in one of the South Towers of, you know, which tower on a certain day, which, yeah, in September. It's pretty eerie to know that, and I don't know why I'm including it on the fact, but even I didn't know that one, so that was a bit more dark and eerie. So let's fast forward to September 1998. I had the opportunity to visit the Warner Brothers store, and I didn't know that this trip would basically change the rest of my life. It would basically ignite my love for darker tone horror. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island had just released on direct-to-video VHS. That night in September of 1998, I went home, played with my Nickelodeon GAC that I got at the mall. Does anybody even remember GAC? If you don't know what it is, it's like Nickelodeon slime. I watched the movie for the first time ever that night. I was completely taken away by what I just had finished watching on Scooby-Doo. Like, wait, so the zombies were real on Scooby-Doo? They weren't just someone in a mask? Like, what? Like, as a kid, I absolutely loved this movie. Even as an adult, I cherish it with its darker than tones than the classic Scooby-Doo episodes that I grew up with watching on reruns. Even one of the promos for when they eventually aired it on Cartoon Network was that the monsters were real this time, and that scared the shit out of me. Every other Scooby-Doo villain was just fake or angry an old pissed off person in a mask. So this just kind of like was abrupt for me. Like, I was shook for a bit. I remember rewatching it on Cartoon Network when they aired it finally. I think it was the premiere on, first time premiering on the network. I felt the same way. I was excited. Like, I still had it on VHS. I wanted to watch it on Cartoon Network because it just became one of my favorite movies. So you're all familiar with my preferences. So you know how much I love horror and just related genres. Even the direct-to-sequel videos that followed up in 1999 and afterwards, those were still pretty dark. The Witch's Ghost and Alien Invaders were pretty dark for what they were at the time. They were still pretty good for a good trilogy of what those darker Scooby-Doo movies were at the time. So I'm going to run down a little bit of the history of where Scooby-Doo was between the 60s to the 90s, because there's just a lot that I just skimmed over. I want to get more in discussion so that you can understand why this certain Scooby-Doo movies mean so much to me with what they are. Also, I just want to throw in there Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, one of my all-time favorites too. That one's one of my favorite and one of the best video games of all time too. So prior to the 1990s, the Scooby-Doo franchise was characterized by its cheesy and campy nature, numerous specials, guest appearances by celebrities, and even just the possibilities of a live-action movie. These were all materialized years later. However, this is a topic for another video and another occasion, so we're not going to talk about the live-action Scooby-Doo because it's something that I want to get into without getting off of this subject. In contrast to direct-to-video movie presented monsters that were not merely individuals wearing masks to frighten children. This marked a significant turning point where things became real and self-aware in the Scooby-Doo universe way before Supernatural did that. This is basically what kind of helped that episode in a way too. I'm just connecting the dots. I love that episode. It had all been light-hearted, family-friendly, G-rated entertainment, often featuring outdated celebrities that children of today might not even be familiar with at all. Therefore, I encourage you kids to go ask your grandparents or your parents who the hell Gary Coleman, Don Knotts, Sonny and Cher, and Sandy Duncan are. They'll know who they are. After the 60s, we basically are in the 80s now at this point. We've gotten popular animated television series Scooby-Doo, including the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo and the new Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo show. Ugh, Scrappy-Doo. It wasn't until 1994 that we got an animated television feature titled Scooby-Doo in Arabian Nights, which was released the first appearance of the character in 4 years, eventually led to having Scooby go on a hiatus for a while. Warner Brothers produced 37 straight-to-video animated movies, with the exception of the year 2000. So every year since 1998, we have gotten a single straight-to-video animated movie of Scooby-Doo, except for the year 2002 when the live-action movie came out. How crazy is that? So, prior to the release of Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, it was accommodated by a set of 5 toys. That's right, 5, count them, at Wendy's fast food restaurants. I had that toy as a child because I remember specifically going to go get Wendy's and the packaging still being yellow, which slaps. As a fan of the series, I just remember anticipating the release for the movie, and I'm just glad I was able to buy it from the Warner Brothers store. So this experience marked a significant turning point in my appreciation for the Scooby-Doo franchise. The animation for the film looked extra crisp with just a more polished look. The music, reminiscent of the classic Scooby-Doo chase scenes, added a unique twist. Third Eye Blind's rendition of the Scooby-Doo theme song is outstanding and very impressive. I mean, although I enjoy the version of the song alongside Simple Plan's cover, which I believe one of the best covers of the Scooby-Doo theme song, hands down. Third Eye Blind's rendition was as good, maybe just perfect fitting for the movie, and just so late 90s, you know, Third Eye Blind. The backgrounds were hand-drawn as well, this demonstrating that Warner Brothers didn't spare no expense in the production of Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island at all. They added a nice touch of the visual appeal of the film, aside from the nostalgic value that the film holds for me. I can confidently say that it still holds up, considering this was released in 1998. Holy. It offers a more darker tone, more mature storyline compared to the recent Scooby-Doo adaptations, not including that, because, oh my god, I'm not talking about that. The storytelling in the film is grounded, and without revealing too much in my opinion, it serves just the best Scooby-Doo straight-to-video animated movie so far. not including Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, which I gotta say is one of my favorites too. A fascinating fact that I found out that a lot of people may not be aware of that I've discovered through Rebel Taxi's video on Zombie Island. Go check it out. Shout out to Rebel Taxi, Pan Pizza, love you bro, big fan. The plot of Zombie Island was originally intended for SWAT cats. Does anybody remember or have watched SWAT cats? It's something else. It is so badass. Just go look it up, SWAT cats. It's a little bit hazy, but I remember once or twice watching it on Cartoon Network when we first got cable in my house. I've always wanted to check out Cartoon Network ever since I heard about it on my Scooby-Doo tape. So in regards to darker tone Scooby-Doo related media, I also want to talk about the successful parody that they did, also known as the Scooby-Doo Project. This parody was of the 1999 film The Blair Witch Project, which grossed $248.6 million during that summer. In order to release the parody before anybody else, the creators of the show recorded it around the same time as Zombie Island. How funny. And it was released in the fall of of the same year for a Scooby-Doo Halloween marathon. The entire segment can be found on YouTube for those intended to watch. May I warn you, as a child watching this for the first time on live TV, the marathon, because it was just like cutaways in between commercial breaks, I found it to be very eerie and frightening. Maybe just a bit more scary than Zombie Island, but that's just my podcast. That's just me. That's just me. For those that haven't seen The Blair Witch Project, I must warn you of spoilers, because I can't really talk about the Scooby-Doo special without getting spoilers or having another 10 to 15 minutes talking about this. Basically, the parody ends with the gang catching the supposed monster, it being somebody real, because this was shot hyper-realistic, meaning the drawings of Scooby-Doo and the gang were real, but the background was of a real, like, shot background, like actual woods, like IRL backgrounds. These look like real on-set locations. They were in the woods. They were, the animators or whoever was behind this director shot these before they did anything with the animation, which is more frightening and more eerie to add to show to children for the first time in between campy, funny Scooby-Doo episodes and movies, because it scared that out of me. For those that didn't see, they're getting chased around by the monster. It starts off all campy, and eventually we find ourselves Shaggy staring at a wall in the basement, and followed by the camera getting cut off. Then a police report states that the fan has been found, but the gang is apparently missing without a trace found. The revelation was shocking to me as a child, because it made it seem as in like Scooby-Doo and the gang have reportedly died, have gone missing, and all that was found was the Scooby-Doo tapes and a bunch of Scooby-Doo snacks. Just knowing that they're dead or they're in purgatory or whatever happened is just kind of scary. Imagine me as a child, like not knowing what the hell I just watched for the first time. Just knowing the parody that they did just haunted me for the rest of my life. Was just terrifying enough, and to this day, it just I can no longer really just see myself watching that parody again without just thinking of the nightmares, because it definitely caused younger nightmares for me as a child. In the movie, the gang grows up and pursues their own career path. Scooby and Shaggy become TSA agents, which I have no clue how they managed to get that far. Velma opens up a mystery bookstore, and Fred and Daphne have their own primetime show. However, they eventually decide to reunite and return to solving mysteries as the meddling kids they were once. The first case back takes them to a spooky plantation in New Orleans. I won't reveal too much about the plot, but if you're a diehard Scooby-Doo fan, I consider this top tier. Along the way, they realize that the mystery is not like any other mystery that they've encountered before, because this time the threat is real and dangerous. Now it's up for the gang to solve the mystery and escape Zombie Island. I really enjoyed rewatching this movie after years later. It definitely is one of the best versions of Scooby-Doo at the time. Just being more mature themes and having the characters having real jobs, real careers, and the zombies actually being a threat from people that died there long ago, it definitely ramps it up from the usual person in a mask trying to scare somebody off of the property. The setting of New Orleans was beautifully depicted with the stunning drawings of the swamp, the downtown area, the mansion. Honestly, you definitely get yourself lost looking at the backgrounds of this, and I gotta say, it's one of the best backgrounds in any animated Scooby-Doo movie up to date. This movie clearly demonstrates a great deal of passion. The voice cast is exceptional with legends including Frank Welker, Casey Kasem, Jim Cummings, Tara Strong, and Mark Hamill. Unfortunately, Casey Kasem was unable to reprise his role as Shaggy at the time because he insisted on making him vegetarian, or in today's terms, vegan, refusing to voice Shaggy in a Burger King ad. This was later because he became vegan himself. He eventually did go vegan in the Scooby-Doo lore, but that was a little bit after the live-action movie in 2002. I quickly want to highlight two of my favorite voice actors, Jim Cummings, who voices Pete the Cat from Disney, and Pooh from Winnie the Pooh, of course. Also, Billy West ended up replacing Casey Kasem, voicing Shaggy. And you may remember Billy West from his role as Fry from Futurama and many other notable roles, but I will always associate him with Fry and that clip with Shasta and his Rush mixtape. It really makes me smile to see the gang growing up, getting real jobs, and experiencing the realistic side of the world. It's nice knowing that they missed out on their teenage years chasing monsters and solving mysteries in the van. This whole film feels very different in a good way, and at a such young age, I realized how it just fueled my love for darker tones in horror and especially in media specifically. As I got older, I was able to watch more mature horror films like 2004's Dawn of the Dead, which one of the best remakes of all time, and the OG himself, Night of the Living Dead. The niche interest in horror media and filmmaking led me down a rabbit hole of amazing directors such as Hitchcock, Cronenberg, Carpenter, Craven, Romero, and of course, Raimi. In my second year of high school, I chose to take a film tech class which continued for the remaining 3 years of high school, but during this time I learned so much knowledge and studied expensively about cinema, the experience that fueled my passion for horror media and more into cinema, and a bit of more animation as well. But I'm trying to stay focused on topic here, so that's another video for another time, but for the most part, I was being able to go behind a film, dissect it, and just learn the proper terms and kind of just lend myself into what it really takes to make this media happen, from just being able to have an idea to turn it into something real, to having it on the cutting room floor, to just watching it on a bigger screen. My final thoughts on Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island: it's a great tribute to the fans of the earlier, campier Scooby-Doo episodes who were ready for a more darker, mature, horror-filled tone. It's for those that wanted to just know that Scooby-Doo was ready for a new generation, was ready to bring in more of the horror, more of the mature, more of the campiness back. It was just a reinventing of Scooby-Doo, but not fully, fully making it its own thing, but fully being able to go back to its roots. But overall, this basically paved way for the best trilogy of all time, with the follow-up of Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost and Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders, which I gotta say are as dark and as more mysterious for the gang to solve. But that's, like I said, another video for another day. Maybe we'll get to those as well. But overall, Zombie Island, personal favorite of all time. I would highly recommend everybody go watch the movies or even looking it up as well. Thanks everybody for stopping by and listening to rant about Scooby-Doo for like the last 20 minutes. I appreciate you being here. Make sure to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. There's other video essays that I have. Go check them out, and I will see y'all in the next one. Thanks for stopping by, and take care. Click on another video, and I will see y'all until the next one.